Think bigger is stronger. Well, that may not necessarily be the case. There are a lot of women, there are a lot of light men that can deadlift exponential amounts, can squat exponential amounts, can bench press exponential amounts. How are they able to do this with such a light body weight and such little muscle mass? Well, the trick is that it's not all about muscle size. So the big question is, does bigger mean stronger? And at the top level, it does. But in reality, for most of us, training does not create a lot of muscle mass because the first part of training is usually a neurological change before a muscle change. So hypertrophy, i.e. muscle growth, only happens when you're training high volume. So it's not always and very rarely intensity. Intensity does create muscle mass, but mostly in the type 2 fibers, which are fast fiber, which we have less of, which just means that if you train explosive and heavy, your body is not going to gain a ton of muscle mass. But if you're doing sets of 45 seconds to a minute, then your body is going to create muscle mass or hypertrophy. Now, there are 3 methods of training, and we always talk about, does bigger make you stronger? Well, in reality, max effort or going super heavy is a CNS builder, okay? Dynamic effort training is also a CNS builder. Most of the progression you're gonna see from dynamics and heavy are gonna be CNS changes, central nervous system changes, your spinal cord changes. So basically the spark plug. What is the spark plug of your brain to the muscle doing, and is it being enhanced? That's what happens in max effort and dynamic effort. But down here, number 3, which is what most of us are comfortable with, is the repetition or fatigue efforts method, submaximal. This is the one you use to develop muscle mass. And the reason is these tend to be 5 seconds or less time under tension. If I tell you to pick up a heavy squat or a deadlift or a bench press, if you can't get it in around 5 seconds, it's probably not gonna go. But that is a very short set for a 10 or a 20 rep on, say, a leg curl, leg extension, one of those things. So the time under tension is what creates muscle mass. This is not enough time under tension in the CNS realm to really create muscle mass. So for females especially, training max efforts and speed work is going to be a great way to be in really good shape, put on quality, not overbearing muscle tissue, and be able to get very, very strong and athletic without putting on a lot of bulk. So max effort method and dynamic effort method follow this basic physics equation. We all want force, okay? M times A. We've all seen this out of school, hopefully, okay? Max effort is the M. What does that mean? That means how much mass. If I ask you how much you bench press, you're going to give me a number. That is max effort method. You didn't say how fast you moved it. You just said your max is 315 on the bench press, correct? But the acceleration side is the dynamic effort method. Now, how fast did you move a certain weight? So what that means is how explosive did you move a certain weight that I give you? So the dynamic effort method is going to have a percentage base. So let's say our max is 200 pounds. Okay, 200 pounds is our max, right? But to do dynamic effort method, we're going to need to be somewhere around 50% to do speed. That means that this can only be 100 pounds, okay? Because we need acceleration. 200 pounds, if it's your max, is not going to be fast. It's going to be very slow and grinding. So the dynamic effort method has a percentage rule. It's telling us that it has to be within a certain percentage to be fast. And we have a couple of really good questions. And the one question is doesn't it eventually come down to muscle size? And the answer is absolutely. But for most of us, we never make the progress far enough to really need more muscle mass to get stronger. For 90% of the population that trains in the gym, in a normal gym, you're going to still be able to make massive strides with your CNS before you really need more muscle mass. Now, this is important if you want to stay at 120 pounds as a girl, or you're a wrestler as a guy and you can't weigh over 165 or 180 or whatever your weight class may be. There is still tons and tons of room for improvement. And one aspect I like to utilize, one analogies that I like to utilize, is think about this like engines, okay? You got a 4-cylinder, and a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that doesn't have turbos or superchargers, they're around 200 horsepower now. A V6 is around 300 horsepower now, and a V8 is around 400 horsepower now. These are the normal engines of today that are naturally aspirated. But if I take a 4-cylinder and I put a supercharger on it, I can get that thing up to about 350 horsepower roughly. If I put turbos on it, 400. So we could make a 400 plus horsepower 4-cylinder. Same holds true with a V6. So let's take this as a V4 as a 148 pound man or a 120 pound girl. A V6, average horsepower is 300 naturally aspirated. If we put a supercharger or turbos on it, we can bump it up way past a V8. But if the big V8, i.e. the 250 to 300 pound man, decides he wants to train CNS and put a supercharger or turbo on his muscles, good luck with a 4-cylinder or a V6 trying to keep up with that. But the point is that you can still be a small engine with a ton of power if your central nervous system is firing absolutely amazing, your technique is amazing, and the ways that you train are allowing your body to recover and regenerate at the proper level and the proper range.